Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Battle of the Americans of War, which holds Bang and Dang. Continuing on 1864. And we got 4 battles upon this episode. It's been a couple minutes since we had a 4 battle episode. 4 battler. We got 4 different campaigns as well. We got the Paw Paw Revolution or Rebellion. A battle and forces defense of Mississippi or Missouri, Mississippi. And we also got Early still retreating away from Washington. And then we'll end it with the Battle of Peachtree Creek in the Atlanta campaign. So good stuff happening right here. Before we get started, go check out our YouTube at Bang Dang Network. Clips, faux episodes, shorts, as well as our YouTube exclusive Dart League. Got a little bit of changes with that Dart League as well, so go check it out. Might interest you guys. Let us know, actually, in the comment section for once. How about that?
Right.
And if you're just listening on Spotify, Apple, answer that Spotify question, share us with your friends, and give us a review. We got Camden Point, Tupelo, Cool Springs, Peachtree Creek, starting it out with the Battle of Camden Point, July 13th, 1864, near Camden Point, Missouri.
Oh.
During the mid-1864 Paw Paw Rebellion in northwestern Missouri, detachments of federal troops crossed the Missouri River and occupied Clarke County, Missouri. At this time, a Confederate cavalry force approximately 200 to 300 strong under Colonel J.C. Thornton was organizing around Camden Point. July 13th, Thornton's men held a picnic in an open pasture near the town. Oh, isn't that sweet?
A picnic.
A Mexican. Detachments of the 2nd Colorado Cavalry and 15th Kansas Cavalry, with 1 piece of artillery, all under the command of Colonel Jim Ford of the 2nd Colorado, totaled 7,000 soldiers. Maybe. We might have like an engine one. They ambushed this force of 7 to 1,000 people, ambushed Thornton's picnicking force.
Oh, no.
Routing it and killing 2 and wounding approximately 25.
The bastards. 2nd Colorado Cavalry suffered 1 killed and
some wounded,
and 3 of those died of their wounds later on in life. 4 additional Confederates were captured, executed by Federales after the battle ended. Oh, my, you can't do that. Ammunition, weapons, gunpowder were all captured as well at Camden Point, and that was burned.
All right.
The battle flag of the old Confederate force was captured as well, and now resides in the possession of the Colorado State Historical Society.
Well, look at that.
1871, a memorial to the Confederates murdered in the engagement was erected at the Pleasant Grove Cemetery near Camden Point. Camden Yards, is that where they got that from?
Nope, because that's in Baltimore, but sure.
Right, that's true, isn't it? Stupid. Where the old Confederate slain are buried, that's where the
monument is, yeah.
The monument is where the Confederates are buried. And it is the 3rd oldest Confederate memorial west of the Mississippi.
All right. Wow. Is it still there? Probably not.
Not in Colorado. No.
Maybe.
2 older Confederate memorials can be found in Lone Jack, Missouri, and Cowan Cemetery, which is in Wayne County, Missouri, which were both erected in 1870.
Oh, look at that. 1 year. Okay, so they're all the same age.
So that was like a murder, a mass casualty event.
Yeah, but you see, it's not covered as much as when the Confederates do it.
Right. Bastard.
We're on to the Battle of Tupelo, also known as the engagement at Harrisburg, which was fought July 14th to the 15th near Tupelo, Mississippi, during forces' defense of Mississippi. Spring and summer of 1864 found the attention of the people of Mississippi focused on fighting in Virginia and Georgia, interwoven with and having important repercussions on the fighting in northwestern Georgia were military operations in northeast Mississippi designed to prevent the Confederates under Lieutenant General Stephen D. Lee and Major General Nathan B. Forrest from striking into Middle Tennessee and destroying the single-track railroad over which Sherman's army drew its supplies.
Oh, shit.
The battles of Bryce's Crossroads and Tupelo were fought to protect the Union's military railroad, which Bryce's Crossroad, I think, was a couple episodes ago, like 3 episodes ago, right?
Not at all.
Wait.
We never had Bryce's Crossroad.
Yeah, right there, like 5 episodes ago.
I don't even remember it.
Right.
Wow. The right wing, they desperately trying to get Trump reelected.
MAGA.
The right wing, which consisted of the 16th.
Muga. Make the Union great again.
Make the Union great again?
Muga.
Right, Muga. The right wing was consisted of the 16th Army Corps, commanded by Major General Andrew J. Smith, advanced into North Mississippi from LaGrange, Tennessee. He did that on the 5th of July without much opposition in 2 columns until Pontotoc was closely approached, when his advance was checked by old rebel Brigadier General James Chalmers. Forrest, meanwhile, he was making preparations for a battle near Okolona.
All right, Okolona.
Old Lee, he was also with the old rebel forces and assumed general command.
That would
David Lee.
Stephen D.
Lee.
3 attempts to advance were checked by Forrest's men on various roads, and on July 12th, both columns turned off towards Tupelo. Lee then moved with the divisions of Chalmers and Brigadier General A. Buford. He was a Buford to attack Smith's flank, while forces with Mabry's brigade, the escort, and his old regiment assailed to the rear. A run-and fight was kept up for 10 miles, but without any considerable advantage to either side, except for a dash made upon Federal wagon train by Chalmers.
10-mile fight.
With Rucker's brigade near Bartram's shop. He had possession of the wagon train for a time and killed all the mules, so that the Union forces were compelled to abandon and burn 7 wagons, a caisson, and 2 ambulances, but superior numbers soon compelled him to retire.
Oh.
Well, using that compelled word a lot there.
Right, compelled. Well, let's take a look at what the Union had to fight with. The right wing consisted of the 16th Army Corps, Major General Andrew Smith, 1st Division, Brigadier General Joseph Maurer, 1st Brigade, Colonel William McMillan, 2nd Brigade had Colonel Alexander Wilkin. He was murdered, and Colonel John McClure took over
You can't just give it away.
3rd Brigadier General. Nope, the 3rd Brigade is Colonel Joseph Woods, 4th Brigade, Colonel Lyman Ward, 3rd Division, Colonel David Moore. The 1st Brigade
Of the 3rd Division
is Colonel Charles D. Murray. The 2nd Brigade is Colonel James Gilbert. 3rd Brigade is Colonel Edward Wolfe. Then you had the Cavalry Division with Brigadier General Benjamin Grierson. His 2nd Brigade of Colonel Edward Winslow. 3rd Brigade, Colonel Dadis Coon. Dadis E. Coon.
Right.
And also a 1st Brigade. Shouldn't that be 1st, 2nd, 3rd instead of 2nd, 3rd, 1st? And also 1st Brigade.
Well, no, because it's the colored troops, so they're going last.
Right. You had United States Colored Troops, Colonel Edward Bowen.
All right, on the Confederate side, we got Forces Cavalry with, obviously, Lieutenant General Stephen D. Lee, Major General Nathan B. Forrest. We got the first...
That's where Forrest went, huh?
We've only been talking about him for the last 5 minutes now.
I forgot.
1st Division, Brigadier General James Chalmers. Roddy's brigade had Brigadier General Philip Roddy. McCulloch's brigade had, you guessed it, Colonel Robert McCulloch. He was wounded.
Oh, no.
Rucker's brigade had Colonel Edmund Rucker, Colonel W.L. Duff as well.
Both wounded.
2nd Division of Forces Cavalry had Brigadier General Abraham Ford. Mabry's brigade, Colonel Hinchy Mabry. What did I say?
Ford.
Oh, yeah, it was Buford. Had Mabry's brigade with Colonel Hinchy Mabry. Got the 3rd Kentucky Brigade, Colonel Edward Crossland, the 4th Tennessee Brigade, Colonel Tyree Bell, and Morgan's command, which was captained by William Campbell, ironically.
Right. Morning of July 14th, Smith, he took a strong position at Harrisburg and entrenched. Lee.
Little entrenchers.
Right. Lee reacted by forming lines with Roddy's brigade on the right, Mabry's brigade on the left, Crossland's brigade in the middle. Bell's brigade was put in the front line on Mabry's right. The troops were all dismounted. Both Chalmers and Buford's divisions were held in reserve. The plan of attack seemed to be swing to the right, but Lyon's brigade became engaged first and was forced to fall back with heavy losses. Chalmers' division dismounted, ordered forward, after Mabry and Bell had been repulsed. Rucker's brigade made an equally futile assault.
All right, the men were swept away by the fire of a superior and entrenched force.
Oh.
Many men fell from exhaustion in the great heat of a July sun.
Wow.
A little after noon, the Confederates fell back and entrenched, but were not molested by Union forces, who contented themselves with tearing up the railroad in the vicinity of Tupelo and burning the town of Harrisburg.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, on the 15th, it appeared Smith would not attack, and Buford made a demonstration on his left flank. Soon afterward, Smith began his retreat, and a vigorous pursuit was at once begun.
Oh, shit. At Old Town Creek, Buford came up with the Union in line of battle. And was driven back in confusion. McCulloch's brigade was ordered to attack, but being sent in by regiments was speedily repulsed. Here, General Forrest and Colonel McCulloch were both severely wounded, and the command of the forces in front devolved upon Chalmers.
He's like, I'm not ready.
Oh, Mario Chalmers, huh? Though the pursuit was continued, there was but slight skirmishing after this engagement.
All right. Meanwhile, Sherman, who's closing in on Atlanta as we speak, was irritated Smith had not pressed Forrest at Tupelo,
Right, why would you
believing
not?
he should not have been allowed to escape.
Right.
If Forrest had been allowed to raid in the Middle Tennessee prior to the capture of Atlanta, it could have had disastrous consequences for the Union.
You ain't kidding.
Although Smith failed to destroy Forrest's cavalry at Tupelo, he did break its combat effectiveness. Forrest would rally his cavalrymen for more daring raids, but never again would they be able to fight and defeat infantry.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Wow. The growth of Tupelo and the surrounding areas has obscured many of the sites associated with this very battle.
Well, of course it has. Well, I mean, just the growing town of Tupelo.
The battlefield has been partially preserved and is home to the 1-acre Tupelo National Battlefield.
Wow.
That's
That's it?
Very, very small. This was established on the 21st of February in 1929.
Oh.
People didn't know what to do because they're all sober and shit. And
Right.
like, let's make battlefield.
Well, it was just like restore or get this.
American Battlefield Trust and its partners. They have also acquired and preserved 12 acres of the
Hey, look at
Tupelo
that.
battlefield as of mid-2023.
Bring it up to 13, baby.
Fantastic.
Lucky number 13, Baker's dozen of acres. That's going to lead us to the Battle of Cool Spring, also known as Castleman's Ferry, Island Ford, Parker's Ford, or Snickers Ferry.
Snickers.
It was a battle in the American Civil War. Yes, it was. It was fought July 17th to the 18th in Clarke County, Virginia, as part of Early's raid. Well, he's running away.
Yeah.
After the Battle of Fort Stevens, July 11th, a Union column consisted of the 6th Corps and elements of the 19th Corps under Major General Horatio Wright pursued Lieutenant General Jubal Early's Army of the Valley northwestward as it withdrew from the environs of Washington, D.C. Through Loudoun County, Virginia. July 15th, Wright's force was joined by elements of Brigadier General George Crooks. He is not one.
No.
Which had accompanied Major General David Hunter during his retreat through West Virginia following the Battle of Lynchburg, June 18th.
Oh, we had that one.
We did.
After two brief engagements in Loudoun County at Heaton's Crossroads, which is present-day Percival, and also Woodgrove on July 16th, Early's main force crossed west over the Blue Ridge Mountains at Snickers Gap and established himself around Berryville. To cover his rear, Early left substantial rearguard forces.
Right.
He did that at the main river crossings of the Shenandoah River. Fantastic. 17th of July, the Union cavalry passed westward through Snickers Gap and unsuccessfully attempted to force passage of the river at Castleman's Ferry, which is Snickers Ford.
Geez, how many names do they need?
Right.
Well, the following day, Union Generals Crook and Wright arrived at Snickers Gap and determined to attack what they mistakenly thought was a light picket line of Confederates along the river, left to cover Early's retreat up the valley. Instead of allowing his cavalry to cross the river and reconnoiter the Confederate positions to confirm this assumption, he dispatched them to Ashby's Gap to attack Early's supply train, which was traveling to the south of Early's main army. Wright then developed a plan where a small Federal force would cross the river northward downstream from the main crossing at Castleman's Ferry and flank the Confederate position. General Crook assigned Colonel Joseph Thoburn to this task.
Fantastic.
He said, Thoburn.
Thoburn, yeah, fantastic. 3 p.m., Thoburn crossed Shenandoah below Castleman's Ferry at Judge Richard Parker's Ford, quickly driving off a small force of rebel pickets. The pickets quickly eluded their commanders, Major Generals John B. Gordon and John Breckinridge. Hey.
Look at that.
They're like, hey, the old Federals are coming.
They're advancing.
Right. Gordon responded by moving a division to the vicinity of the ford, using a small ridge that lay between him and the Federales to screen his movements. Old Breckinridge, he was like, hey, Brigadier General Gabriel Wharton, grab up Major General Robert Rhodes, get to the ford. They deployed along Gordon's left flank, with Wharton forming the center.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, Wharton sharpshooters quickly drove back Thoburn's skirmishers, who occupied a valley between the ridge on which the Confederates were lined and the high ground along the riverbank where the first of two Federal lines was formed in front of a stone fence.
Oh.
You're supposed to be behind the fence.
Going to be a stone wall,
That's a fence.
I guess.
A reserve line was located on the low sunken bank of the river behind the stone fence, not a wall, well protected and concealed from the Confederates.
Oh, fantastic. 6 p.m., Rhodes attacked the main Federal position on the high ground along its right flank. The old Federale line turned to meet the attack and exposed its left flank to enfilading fire from Gordon and Wharton.
Uh-oh.
The line had collapsed, and untrained, unmounted cavalrymen from Colonel Samuel B.M. Young's Provisional Brigade began to run and retreat over the stone wall and across the Shenandoah. These mofos are getting out. He's like, we didn't train for this. You're right. You didn't train at all. About the time of the old Federal retreat, Brigadier General James Ricketts, he arrived on the eastern bank of the river.
Originally intended to reinforce Thoburn, General Wright demurred with Thoburn's line in full retreat. As Rhodes's men pressed the attack, they came to the stone wall, whereupon the Federal Reserve line opened up on the unsuspecting Confederates, driving them back towards the ridge.
You ain't kidding.
Throughout the remainder of the evening, Rhodes sent small brigade-level attacks at the Federal position on the river bank, but was unsuccessful in driving them across the river because Thoburn was able to reinforce his right due to the lack of pressure on his left by Gordon and Morton.
What are you doing, Gordon and Morton?
After sunset, Thoburn retired the rest of his force across the river.
Well, it worked out anyway for him. The battle was a Confederate victory. Wright had sent a small force against a well-reinforced rebel army without the aid of cavalry because he mistakenly assumed it was only the pickets of Early's rearguard.
Stupid.
Right. Thoburn's force paid dearly for this mistake.
Poor guys.
West Virginia militia Colonel Daniel E. Frost, Speaker of the House of Delegates of the restored government of Virginia, who had taken command of the embattled troops in Snickers Gap, he received what became a mortal abdominal wound.
Poor guy.
Oh, man, you stupid bastard. Still, Thoburn's judicious use of terrain and lack of coordination on the old rebel side allowed Thoburn to stave off a full routing of his troops and thus minimized his casualties.
Yeah, he did what he can do, I guess. Following day, both armies remained in the same positions as the night before and engaged in little fighting.
Right.
General Hunter, however, took the initiative and sent a force out from Harper's Ferry to pressure Early's position from the north, causing the Confederates to withdraw from Berryville the following day and setting in motion the Valley campaigns of 1864.
Oh, good move there by that guy.
Right.
The Cool Spring Battlefield was added to the National Register of Historic Places in the year of 1997. The Civil War Trust and its partners, and its federal and state and local partners, have helped save 1,226 acres of battlefield, preserved by easement agreements with Holy Cross Abbey and Shenandoah University.
All right.
Since the year 2013, the university has helped protect the preserved land. 195 acres of the battlefield are known as the Shenandoah River Campus at Cool Spring Battlefield, an outdoor classroom for the university and the general public.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, look at this shit. Outdoor classroom. Huh?
Learning about the war, maybe? I would hope so.
Right.
In his 1952 memoir, Witness, Whitaker Chambers relates an anecdote about his maternal grandfather, Charles Whitaker. I was going to say Chambers.
Right.
Of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, son of a Scottish immigrant. As a teenager, Whitaker had run away from home to join the Union Army. Due to his age, only a convict regiment stationed in Harper's Ferry would accept him. Oh, jeez. What is
But
he?
they still accepted him in some form.
He was 20-something.
Right. He would have been 21 if he could win at the beginning of the
Right.
war. Wow.
It
Shit.
says as a teenager.
You think they would have threw his ass right in line of duty?
I don't think Whitaker Chambers knows his uncle.
Right.
Or maternal grandfather, because you can't say he ran away as a teenager when the dude was born in 1840.
Right.
Well, anyways, during the engagement at Snickers Gap, Whitaker's regiment had to cross the enemy line under fire. He says, one man became so nervous that he jumped from behind my grandfather, whose body was protecting him, in front of my grandfather and was instantly shot dead.
Oh, shit.
He jumped from behind my grandfather. Oh, he jumped from front of him. That was in my mind when I used to say sometimes to nervous friends during the Hiss case, let's not jump out of line.
Oh, good for you, guy. Moving on. Battle of Peachtree Creek. Last battle of the
Going
old
back
Rappy.
to old Atlanta.
We're in Georgia. On July 20th, 1864. Part of the Atlanta campaign, as we all know. First major attack by Lieutenant General John Bell Hood since taking command of the Confederate Army of Tennessee.
All right, look at that. Yeah, they had to get rid of...
What's his face?
Right.
The attack was against Major General William Sherman's Union
it
Army,
was.
which was perched on the doorstep of Atlanta.
Like, don't you see the mat? It says, we don't want you here.
Right, the most important city of the South. Sherman launched his grand offensive against the Army of Tennessee in early May. For more than 2 months, Sherman's forces, consisting of the Army of Cumberland, Army of Tennessee, Army of Ohio, they sparred with rebel forces of the Army of Tennessee. Then, under the command of
That's who it was.
General Joseph E. Johnston, who got the boot.
We got the boot. Although the Southerners gained tactical successes at the Battle of New Hope Church, Pickett's Mill, and Kennesaw Mountain, they were unable to counter Sherman's superior numbers.
Couldn't do it.
Gradually, the Union forces flanked the Confederates out of every defensive position they attempted to hold.
Wow.
July 8th, Union forces crossed the Chattahoochee River, the last major natural barrier between Sherman and the old Hotlanta.
Man, once they passed
A-Town. Yeah.
Retreating from Sherman's advancing armies, General Johnston, he withdrew across the Peachtree Creek,
Peachtree Creek.
just north of Atlanta, and laid plans for an attack on part of the Army of the Cumberland as it crossed the Peachtree Creek itself. 17th of July, he received a telegram from Confederate President Jefferson Davis in name only. Right? Who's really running the South? Robert E. Lee?
Highly doubtful.
Bragg?
No.
Or is it Jefferson Davis?
Obviously.
He's the president. July 17th, he received a telegram from Confederate President Jefferson Davis, relieving him from command.
Damn. He's like, I'm not sharing my plans with you.
Right. The political leadership of the Confederacy was unhappy with Johnston's lack of aggressiveness and replaced him with Hood. In contrast to Johnston's conservative tactics and conservation of manpower, Hood had a reputation for aggressive tactics and personal bravery on the battlefield. He did.
Even though the other battle that we just had with Hood in it said he uncharacteristically was conservative, but...
Isn't that weird?
Right. In fact, he had already been maimed in battle twice within the past year, having personally led several assaults.
Fantastic.
Hood formally took command July 18th, and he launched an attempted counteroffensive. He said, I got it from here,
Got it, bud.
Joey. It was not until the 19th that Hood learned of Sherman's split armies advancing for a swift attack from multiple directions.
Oh, shit.
Thomas's Army of the Cumberland was to advance directly towards Atlanta, while the Army of Ohio, under command of Major General John Schofield, and then the Army of Tennessee, under the command of Major General James McPherson, quickly moved several miles towards Decatur so as to advance from the northeast. They said, we're coming for you, Atlanta.
Uh-oh. No, well, this was apparently an early premonition of Sherman's general strategy of cutting Confederate supply lines by destroying railroads to the east. Thomas would have to cross Peachtree Creek, several locations, and would be vulnerable both while crossing and immediately after, before they construct breastworks. Yeah, very careful, bud. Hood hoped to attack Thomas while his Army of Cumberland was still in the process of crossing Peachtree Creek.
Yeah, that'd be ideal.
Hood also sent forth the corps under Alexander P. Stewart and William Hardee. He goes, go get Schofield and McPherson, beat their asses. By so doing, the Southerners could hope to fight with rough numerical parity and catch the Northern forces by surprise. No, I don't think by surprise, because I think they're pretty well aware crossing the river.
Right.
Hood thus sought to drive Thomas west, further away from Schofield and McPherson. This would have forced Sherman to divert his forces away from Atlanta. If he would have done it correctly, possibly.
Well, throughout the morning of July 20th, the Army of the Cumberland crossed Peachtree Creek and began taking up defensive positions. 14th Corps, commanded by Major General John Palmer, took position on the right. 20th Corps, commanded by Major General Joseph Hooker, the former commander of the Army of the Potomac, who had lost the Battle of Chancellorsville. So now you're going down here, bud. He took position in the center. The left was held by a single division, which was John Newton's of the 4th Corps, as the rest of that corps had been set to reinforce Schofield and McPherson on the east side of Atlanta. So just a single division, huh? Union forces began preparing defensive positions, but had only partially completed them by the time the Confederate attack began. Well, good for you, Confederates. Don't let them complete it. It's sitting there, they're like digging trenches and stuff. What should we do? Let's wait.
Right. Idiots. A few hours between the Union crossing and their completion of defensive earthworks were a moment of opportunity for the rebels, obviously.
Right.
Hood committed 2 of his 3 corps to attack. Hardee's corps would attack on the right, while the corps of General Stewart would attack on the left. As the corps of General Benjamin Cheatham, they would keep an eye on the Union forces to the east of Atlanta.
You just sit there and you look. Right. Hood had wanted the attack launched at 1 o'clock, but confusion and miscommunication between Hardee and Hood prevented this from happening.
How?
Hood instructed Hardee to ensure that his right flank maintained contact with Cheatham's corps, but Cheatham began moving his forces slightly eastward. Hardee, too, began sidestepping to the east to maintain contact with Cheatham, while Stewart began sliding eastward as well in order to maintain contact with Hardee.
Do you think Hardee actually sidestepped and Stewart slid?
Good of. Jeez, they're both idiots.
Wow.
It was not until 3 o'clock that this movement ceased.
Oh,
so they did it for 2 hours.
You dumb
And nobody's
bastards.
saying, hey, guys, why are you sliding and stepping?
What the freak is going on?
Jeez.
The rebel attack was finally mounted at around 4 o'clock. On the Confederate right, Hardee's men ran into fierce opposition and were unable to make much headway, with Southerners suffering heavy losses. The failure of the attack was largely due to faulty execution and
You
lack
think?
of pre-battle reconnaissance. So these guys didn't even do anything, nothing at all. Didn't even reconnoiter the rim.
Right.
Jeez, man, come on, you idiots. On the old rebel left, Stewart's attack was more successful, though. He was like, I'm a little more organized. 2 Union brigades were forced to retreat, and most of the 33rd New Jersey infantry, along with its battle flag, were captured by the Rebs.
Hey, having your battle flag captured, guys.
And also, they got a 4-gun Union artillery battery.
Look at that.
Oh, shit.
A whole battery, huh?
Nice.
Union forces counterattacked, and after a bloody struggle, successfully blunted the Confederate offensive.
Oh.
Artillery helped stop the Confederate attack on Thomas's left flank. A few hours into the battle, Hardee was preparing to send in its reserve, which was the division of General Patrick Cleburne, which he hoped would get the attack moving again and allow him to break through the lines.
Did it do it?
An urgent message from Hood, however, forced him to cancel the attack and dispatch Cleburne to reinforce Cheatham, who was being threatened by a Union attack and in need of a reinforcement. He said, you halt that, you go over to Cheatham.
That's a rough one there. I think he should have sent Cleburne in and be like, hey, man, I didn't get your word until this guy was already dead.
Right. Didn't even realize it.
Union
Busy sliding.
Right. Would you quit sidestepping? The Union lines bent but did not break under the weight of Confederate attack. By the end of the day, the old Rebs had failed to break through anywhere along that line. Hood, he said, you know what? Let's withdraw into defenses of Atlanta. He did that the next day, which was the 21st of July. Estimated casualties for this battle was 4,250 in total. 1,750 on the old Bluecoats and 2,500 on the old Rebs. That we don't know if that's murdered, mysteries.
Well, they're all
mysteries.
murder and wounded.
Right.
Maybe even missing and ran away. Many historians have criticized the Confederacy's tactics and execution, especially Hood's and Hardee's. Johnston, although fighting defensively, had already determined to counterattack at Peachtree Creek. In fact, the plan for striking the Army of the Cumberland as it began to cross Peachtree had been attributed to him.
Oh, fantastic.
His long rearguard retreat from the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain is understandable, as Sherman uses numerical superiority for constant large flanking movements. Right.
Dude, Sherman had a humongous army.
Right.
Johnson had like a 70,000 or
right,
something.
about that. Although he had lost an enormous amount of ground, Johnson had whittled Sherman's numerical superiority from 2.1 to 8.
2 to 1 to 8 to 5.
2 to 1 to 8 to 5. Okay. They got 8, you got 5, so that's better.
Replacing him with the brash General Hood practically on the eve of the battle has generally been regarded as a very huge mistake by old President Jefferson Davis.
Huge.
Hood, as well as several other generals, sent a telegram to Davis seeking a remand of the order, advising Davis that it would be dangerous to change the commander of this army at this particular time. Quote, end quote. Davis was like,
Nah.
we're rebels.
Right. Don't you know what that means?
Although Hood's general plan was plausible, the old Federales being divided, the failure of the units to be informed and positioned prior to the Union River crossing, Hardee's failure to commit his troops fully, and Hood's decision to continue the attack when he had discovered he had lost his advantage, resulted in a severe and predictable defeat.
Longest sentence ever.
Right. So a lot of commas. Yeah, it was just terrible. That's bad timing for all of this.
Yeah, idiots.
And to wait 5 hours after they crossed the river, when everybody was like, when they cross that river, they're going to be at their weakest. We should probably plan to do that. Nah, how about we let them set up breastworks? Why don't we let them set up breastworks and they can hunt rabbits and eat
We'll
lunch.
just not be in communication with each other.
Right.
Idiots. Lieutenant Colonel Douglas Hateman was awarded the Medal of Honor for extraordinary heroism on July 20th, 1864, while serving with the 104th Illinois Infantry.
What the fuck did he do?
Action at Peachtree Creek, Georgia.
What did he do?
With conspicuous coolness and bravery, Lieutenant Colonel Hateman rallied his men under a severe attack, reformed the broken ranks, and repulsed the attack.
By himself?
Well, he was the leader of it. Rallied his men.
Wow.
First Lieutenant Frank Baldwin, Company D, 19th Michigan Infantry, was awarded the Medal of Honor as well for gallantry at the Battle of Peachtree Creek on July 20th of 1864.
You always count on Michiganders, man.
Right.
Michigan man.
Under gallant fire, he moved ahead of his own men and singly entered the enemy's line, capturing and bringing back 2 commissioned officers, fully armed, besides a guidon of a Georgia regiment. Okay. Meanwhile, Private Dennis Buckley was awarded the Medal of Honor as well for July 20th, also serving with the Company G 136 New York Infantry in action at Peachtree, Georgia, for the capture of the flag of the 31st Mississippi. Good for him. Look at him capturing battle flags, bud.
Yeah,
That'll get you in the old Medal of Honor.
Yeah, that's like a big thing.
Right.
A big thing. This very battle is now largely lost to urban development.
Of course.
Tanyard Creek Park occupies what was near the center of the battle and contains several memorial markers. Well, that's cool.
Probably not.
Peachtree Battle Avenue commemorates the battle. All are located in the western part of Buckhead. the northern section of the city.
Buckhead.
Yeah. The northern section of the city, which was annexed in 1952. Oh, shit. The play Peachtree Battle is a comedy about life in the upscale area.
Okay, it has nothing to do with the war. Cool.
Yeah, we don't care.
The plot of alternate history novel Shattered Nation, an alternate history novel of the American Civil War so it's like the Confederate States of America.
Fantastic.
Centers around the Battle of Peachtree Creek. In the novel, the Army of Tennessee fights the battle with Johnston rather than Hood in command. Okay.
Oh.
It was discovered on Who Do You Think You Are that Matthew Broderick's great-great-grandfather, Robert Martindale, was killed in this battle.
No shit.
Look at that, huh? Robert Martindale, Matthew Broderick. Well,
Was he part of the Union or the South?
I would assume Union. Well, his great-great-grandfather dies, and meanwhile, Matthew Broderick kills.
Right.
Like, literally.
What?
Literally.
He killed somebody?
Yeah.
Who?
Him and old Sarah Jessica Parker were driving in France, and he rear-ended somebody and killed him.
What was that?
Like 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, maybe. Somewhere around there.
Poor guy.
Yeah. What are you gonna do, right?
He's married to her?
Yes. That's why I said it.
Oh, horse face, huh?
Yep. That's going to do it for us. And this is the Battles of the American Civil War. We getting closer to that capture of Atlanta, folks. It's right around the corner. Right around, well, kind of. I think the Atlanta campaign goes on until like November or something.
Has to.
Coming up in the next couple of episodes, we got the Battle of Atlanta. Speaking of, but first, there's more. Battle of Rutherford's Farm in Virginia, Battle of Atlanta in Georgia, the second Battle of Kernstown, and that's probably it, because I'm assuming Atlanta's pretty decent. Yeah, it's all right. We'll probably have at least those three. Maybe. And we got some other stuff coming up, obviously. We got some BBs.
The first battle of Deep Bottom, baby.
Right. We got BBs, CCs, and some A's. The Battle of the Crater. We're coming up all on the Battles of the American Civil War. Remember, go check out our YouTube at Bang Dang Network. Shorts, full episodes, clips, and as well as our YouTube Dart League. And like I said, Apple, Spotify. Give on that Spotify question. Give us a share with your friends and give us a review.
Let's do it.
5-star it. That's all you got to do. We'll see you next week on the Battle of the American Civil War. We are the Mother Michiganders.
Bang dang.